What if you could live someone else's life from the very beginning to the very end? Not as a story told to you, but as a memory lived by you. Tonight you still slip through time and awaken as someone long gone. A soul shaped by another world, another century. You'll feel their breath, walk their path, carry their joys, their burdens. This isn't set fiction. This is you in another life. This is your life as Friedrich Nietzsche. You are born on a warm summer's evening, the type of evening that carries the weight of the day's heat, yet it holds a coolness in the air that promises relief in the coming night. The small village of Rücken, nestled in the heart of Prussia, is a place where time moves slowly, like the winding river that runs quietly through the countryside. The sun has just begun to sink below the horizon, and its fading glow leaves a soft pink stain on the horizon. Your home, a simple stone house built by the hands of your ancestors, feels both warm and ancient. It is a place where every stone tells a story. Every creak of the wooden beams beneath the roof echoes the passage of time. You do not know this, of course, for you are new to this world, but even so, there is a kind of ancient rhythm to this evening, one that will soon become familiar. The sound of your first breath breaks the silence of the room. It is not loud, not harsh, but soft and tentative, like the first stirrings of a new day. The room is dimly lit by a single candle, its flickering flame casting shadows that dance along the stone walls. The scent of beeswax and burning wick fills the air, mixing with the subtle odor of freshly cut wood from the beams above. Your mother holds you in her arms, cradling you with an instinctual tenderness that comes from a place far deeper than conscious thought. Her hands are soft, yet they are the hands of a woman who has known hard work, whose fingers are calloused from years of labor, yet now are gentle in their care. She presses you close, feeling your warmth against her chest, and for a moment, the world outside the room seems distant, forgotten. She whispers words to you, but you cannot understand them yet. Her voice is calm, soothing. There is a lullaby quality to it, even in the absence of song. It is the sound of the mother welcoming her child into the world, promising safety and love, even as she herself remains unsure of what this new chapter holds. You, however, remain unaware of these things. You do not understand the complexity of the life you are beginning, nor do you sense the silent expectations that await you. Outside, the wind rustles the tall grass, and the distant call of birds echoes through the valley. The earth, though it seems still, is alive with the sound of creatures who have come and gone, of the passing of time itself. You will not remember this moment. Not yet anyway. But this moment, this evening, will form the foundation of everything you are about to become. Every sigh, every breath, every heartbeat will eventually pass into memory, into the silence of the past. In the room with you, your father stands quietly, watching the scene unfold before him. His presence is steady, unassuming, like the stone walls that surround you. He is a man of few words, a man who has seen the world only through the lens of his piety and his work as a pastor. His faith is unwavering, his devotion to the divine absolute. Yet in the silence of this room, he too must come to terms with the mystery of life. You, his son, will soon grow, and with that growth will come a realization that the path you walk will not always be the one he envisions for you. Your birth is not marked by grand fanfare. There are no banners raised, no loud celebrations. It is a quiet event, unnoticed by the world, yet it carries the weight of an entire lifetime. The air in the room is thick with the heat of the day's warmth, the scent of your mother's body, the soft and steady rhythm of her heartbeat as she cradles you. The walls of the room seem to breathe with her, expanding and contracting, as if in harmony with the world outside. The only sound is that of the flickering candle, the wind through the trees, and your own tiny breaths. As your mother watches over you, she does not yet know the man you will become. She does not yet see the philosopher, the rebel, the seeker of truth that you are destined to be. She cannot yet know that your life will be marked by isolation, by pain, and by profound intellectual growth. She cannot know that one day the name Friedrich Nietzsche will reverberate through history, reshaping the way the world understands philosophy, morality, and the human spirit. All she knows is that in this moment you are her child, her son, and that you are her future. But for now, all that matters is this: the warmth of her arms around you, the softness of the woolen blanket that swaddles your tiny body, and the quiet hum of the evening that surrounds you both. Time in these early moments feels endless. The world is both vast and small, and in this room, within the comfort of your mother's embrace, you are safe. The world outside may be filled with uncertainty, but in this moment, there is only warmth. As your mother holds you, her thoughts wander, as they do when all mothers are faced with the overwhelming responsibility of raising a child. What will you become? Will you follow the path set before you, the path that has been carved by generations before you? Or will you forge your own way, challenge the traditions and beliefs that have been handed down to you? These are questions she cannot answer yet, nor would she dare to ask. The future is a place that only you can shape, but for now it remains shrouded in the mystery of possibility. In the distance, a faint bell tolls from the village church, its sound echoing across the land.
It is a reminder of the faith that has shaped this world, of the doctrines and teachings that will be passed down to you. But you are not yet ready for that. You are not yet ready to question, to rebel, to seek out the answers that will one day define you.
But the questions are already there in the quiet moments when the world is still and all you can hear is the sound of your own breathing. And one day you will begin to ask them. You will begin to search for the truth that lies hidden beneath the surface of the world you have been born into. For now, though, there is only the warmth of your mother's embrace, the cool air of the evening, and the quiet lullaby of life beginning anew. Childhood memory. The years pass slowly, each day stretching into the next, as if the world itself cannot decide whether to move forward or remain in place. You are a child now, growing taller and stronger, but still the world feels enormous, overwhelming, and full of mysteries you cannot yet understand. In the quiet of your small room, the air is thick with the scent of old wood and the faint smell of church incense that drifts through the cracks in the door from your father's study. It is a cold room, a room that holds the weight of time. Your bed, though simple, is a comfort, as are the thick woolen blankets that wrap around you in the evenings, protecting you from the chill that lingers in the air. Outside, the seasons change, but you remain largely unaware of these transitions as your life is lived in the comfort of routine. You are young, and the days stretch out like a series of unbroken moments, each one fading into the next, until the world seems to become a single, endless flow of time. The church bells ring on Sundays, marking the rhythm of the week. You are taught to listen to these bells, to reflect on the words of your father, to bow your head in reverence and prayer. The world around you is full of faith, of rituals that seem to exist only to provide comfort, to fill the empty spaces that always seem to grow larger within you. Your father, a strict man, full of unwavering devotion to God, has expectations for you. He is a pastor, a man of the cloth, and he believes that you too will follow in his footsteps, that you will take up the mantle of faith and duty, just as he has. But you are not sure of this yet. At this point, you are simply a child, absorbing the world around you in small, fleeting moments. You are too young to question the routines of the church, too young to understand the depth of your father's expectations. But something within you stirs. Something does not quite sit right, as though there is a restlessness, a discomfort that whispers to you in the stillness of the evening. It is in the early hours of the morning, when the sun is just beginning to rise and the world outside is still shrouded in darkness, that you experience the first stirring of what will one day become the voice of your soul. You wake to the sound of birds singing in the trees outside your window, the first hints of light breaking through the cracks of your shutters. The air is cold but clean, a refreshing bite that sharpens your senses. You slip out of bed, the wooden floor cold beneath your bare feet, and make your way to the small window that overlooks the fields beyond. The world is still asleep, and for a moment you stand there in silence, watching as the first rays of sunlight illuminate the fields, the trees, the homes of the village. There is something profoundly moving about this moment, the stillness of the world and the sense of endless possibility that stretches out before you. For a brief instant you are filled with a sense of wonder, a feeling that the world is yours to explore, to understand, to question. You don't know it yet, but this moment, this fleeting moment of calm, will stay with you for the rest of your life. The village, the quiet of the morning, the coolness of the air, these are the things that will shape your childhood, the things that will follow you into adulthood and beyond. The days pass and you continue to grow, but always there is that quiet unrest within you. Your father is proud of you, and he works tirelessly to instill in you the values of faith, duty, and devotion. Yet there is something inside you that feels different. Your mind is beginning to question the things that seem so certain to those around you. You begin to notice the contradictions in the world, the way that people live their lives according to rules that seem to hold no real meaning, the way they believe without truly understanding. The village is small, and the world beyond it seems even smaller. Your life is one of routine, school, prayer, work. But even in this small world, there are moments that stir something deep within you. You have begun to read, to lose yourself in the pages of books. The library in the town is not large, but it is filled with old volumes of philosophy, theology, and history. The works of men who have pondered the very questions that are beginning to gnaw at you. You pick up books, reading them in secret, in the quiet hours when your father is away or when the rest of the village is asleep. The words on the pages speak to you, and you begin to feel as though they are written just for you, as though these ideas hold the answers to the questions you've been asking for as long as you can remember. There are days when you walk through the fields, alone with your thoughts, feeling the wind against your face, the earth beneath your feet. The world is full of life in these moments, the rustling of leaves, the sound of birds in the trees, the distant hum of the river. You begin to understand, perhaps for the first time, that there is more to this world than the small village that surrounds you. There are ideas, thoughts, philosophies that transcend the boundaries of time and space. There is a world beyond this place, a world waiting to be explored. But even as your mind expands, so too does the weight of the expectations placed upon you. You are still a child, still bound to the traditions of your family and the expectations of your father. He has raised you in faith, in the belief that the path to salvation is clear and simple. He has taught you to follow the teachings of the church, to live a life of obedience, of duty, and of service. And yet you cannot shake the feeling that this path is not for you. You do not know it yet, but your life will be a journey away from the safety of faith and into the unknown, a journey that will take you far from this place, far from your father's expectations, far from everything you have known. But for now you are still a child, still learning, still growing. The world is a vast place, full of questions that have no answers, and you stand at the beginning of a journey that will take you places you cannot yet imagine. In the quiet of the mornings, in the stillness of the nights, you will continue to wonder, to question, to seek the truth. The years ahead will be full of discovery, of learning, of heartache and joy. You will learn that life is not always as simple as it seems, that the answers to life's great questions are not always easy to find. But in the quiet moments, in the moments when the world is still and you are alone with your thoughts, you will begin to understand. The journey is long, but it is worth every step. First labor or ritual. The days of your childhood have passed, slipping into memory like the quiet stream that meanders through the fields outside your window. You are no longer a boy but a young man, and the world outside has begun to take on a sharper edge. The air is colder now, the winters longer, and the weight of expectations heavier. Your body has grown, and with it the realization that you are no longer protected by the comforting, unchallenged certainty of youth. The questions you once whispered to yourself now grow louder, pressing against the walls of your mind with an urgency that cannot be ignored. The life laid out for you by your father, by the community, by the world, seems more restrictive, more confining as the years go on. You are ready for something more than the quiet life of the village. Are the books you read, the thoughts that begin to stir in your heart, have pushed you beyond the boundaries of the home that once felt so safe. You feel as though you are meant for something greater, something that cannot be found here in this small provincial world. Yet at the same time you feel the heavy chains of expectation pulling at your soul, tethering you to a future that does not fit the contours of who you are becoming. You make the decision to leave the church, to leave the life of the village, to leave behind the comfort of your family's expectations. The world beyond awaits you, and the weight of your decision is both terrifying and exhilarating. There is no clear path ahead, only a series of choices that must be made with conviction. You can feel the cool air against your face as you walk away from everything you've known. The first ritual of your adult life is not one of faith, but one of rebellion, of autonomy. You are walking into the unknown, following a path that is defined not by the teachings of the church, but by the silent yearning of your own soul. You find your way to the university in Bonn, where you take your first steps into the world of intellectual thought that has captivated your mind for years. The city itself is full of noise and energy, far different from the quiet rural life of Rücken. The streets are alive with the hustle of students, the murmur of intellectuals, the clash of ideas. The buildings are grand, their stone facades speaking of the weight of history, of the long line of scholars and thinkers who have walked these streets before you. The air is thick with the scent of old books and fresh ink, of the promise of knowledge, and it intoxicates you. For the first time you are surrounded by people who are as eager to understand the world as you are, people who question everything, challenge everything, and seek to uncover the hidden truths of life. But even in this place of learning you find yourself at odds with the world. While the rituals here are not so different from the ones you left behind in Rücken, the university, despite its promises of free thought, is bound by its own traditions, its own constraints. The professors are men of their time, and their teachings feel like another form of authority, another form of dogma. The classroom becomes a battleground, and you, the young philosopher, are determined to break free from the constraints of conventional wisdom. You begin your studies in philology, the study of language, and immediately you sense the weight of this new form of labor. The books you read are filled with ancient texts, the wisdom of the ancients, their language twisting and turning before your eyes. But it is not just the language that captivates you, it is the way that language shapes the world, that it creates reality itself. Words are not mere symbols, not just sounds that fill the air. They are the building blocks of meaning, of truth. You feel as though you have stumbled upon a key that will unlock the mysteries of existence itself. The more you study, the more you realize that language is not simply a means of communication. It is a tool of power, of manipulation, of creation. And in this realization, a new labor begins. This labor is not the physical labor of the fields, not the rituals of church and family, but the intellectual labor of the mind. The work ahead of you is daunting. The books are heavy, their pages thick with knowledge, and the hours spent in study are long and taxing. The intellectual world you have entered is one of vast complexity, and you find yourself drowning in its depth. But even as the hours stretch on, as your body grows weary, there is a fire within you that refuses to be extinguished. It is the same fire that burned in your youth, the same restless energy that pulled you away from the village, away from your family. And now, in the quiet corners of the university, in the musty libraries and lecture halls, you begin to realize that this fire is the very thing that will drive you forward. The smell of ink on paper fills the air as you sit at your desk writing notes, copying passages from the books that are now your constant companions. The cold air of the university presses against the windows, and the warmth of the room is a fleeting comfort. But there is a strange beauty in this solitude, in this quiet labor. The world outside is full of distractions, full of noise, but here, in the sanctuary of your study, there is only the page, only the words. You are not thinking for the sake of conformity, for the sake of tradition. You are thinking because you must. It is a kind of compulsion, a force that drives you to ask questions, to seek answers, to challenge the very foundations of reality itself. In the midst of your studies, you come to a realization this labor, this intellectual struggle, is the first true ritual of your life. It is a ritual of the mind, a ritual that has no altar, no incense, no prayer. It is a ritual of questioning, of discovery, of rebellion. You begin to understand that the search for truth is not a straightforward path, not a path that leads to clear answers. It is a winding road, full of contradictions, full of uncertainty, and yet in this uncertainty, you find a kind of peace. It is not the peace of a life lived in comfort, but the peace that comes from knowing that you are living authentically, that you are seeking the truth in a world that is full of shadows. You will face struggles ahead, struggles that will test both your body and your mind. Your health, already fragile, will continue to deteriorate, but your will to continue this labor will not falter. The first ritual of your life has begun, and there is no turning back now. You have chosen this path, chosen this labor, and you will follow it to its end, no matter where it may lead. Growth or transition. The days of your youth have slipped into the past, and now, standing on the precipice of adulthood, you begin to see the world with clearer eyes. No longer a child, but not yet a man of the world, you are in a liminal space, a place of transition. The weather outside is growing colder. The mountains that surround you seem to press in, their presence as constant as the questions you now ask. It is here, in the quiet corners of the university, where your thoughts become more defined, more urgent. The air is sharp, crisp, and the days are marked by the deepening shadows that stretch across the cobbled streets of the city. You walk those streets, your footsteps echoing in the early morning light, thinking of the words you've read, the ideas you've absorbed, and the questions that now seem more pressing than ever before. It is not just your physical body that is growing, but your mind as well. Your studies, though rigorous, have begun to open new doors. You delve into works by the great philosophers, Schopenhauer, Kant, and the ancient Greek thinkers, and with each new book, each new idea, a part of you feels as though it is awakening. You feel as though your mind is expanding, stretching beyond the boundaries of the known world. But with this growth comes a sense of unease, a restlessness that cannot be silenced. You are beginning to realize that the world you've been taught to believe in is not as simple as it once seemed. The certainty that you once found in the teachings of your father, in the comforting rituals of religion, is no longer enough. The more you read, the more you understand that the world is far more complex, far more contradictory than you ever imagined. The belief in a higher power, in a moral order that governs the universe, begins to unravel in your mind. You cannot deny the questions that arise, questions about the nature of existence, the role of suffering, the meaning of life itself. The sense of rebellion that began in your childhood, that quiet dissatisfaction with the world around you, now becomes something deeper, more profound. It is not simply a desire to escape, to reject the world of your father and the traditions that bound you. It is a call to forge your own path, to discover truth not through the lens of established doctrines, but through your own experiences and insights. The weight of this realization is both liberating and suffocating. For to walk this path, you must leave behind the safety of certainty and face the vast uncharted territory of the unknown. In the streets of Bonn, you meet others who challenge your thoughts, who question the same things you question. The university is a place of intellectual ferment, a place where ideas clash and collide, where the mind is free to explore, to rebel, and to search for truth. It is here that you begin to form the first inklings of your own philosophy, a philosophy that will one day break the chains of traditional thought and reshape the world. The more you think, the more you realize that your path will not be one of comfort or acceptance. It will be a path of solitude, of intellectual isolation, because the truths you seek will be rejected by those who have not dared to question the status quo. The winters in Bonn are harsh, and the cold creeps into your bones, making it difficult to focus on your studies. Yet it is in these cold, isolated moments that your thoughts become the most clear. You spend long hours alone in your room, surrounded by books and papers, the candlelight flickering in the dark as your mind wrestles with the ideas that have consumed you. You begin to sense that there is something more to life than the pursuit of comfort, than the adherence to societal norms. The idea of God, of morality, of fate, these are the things that bind humanity, that limit its potential, but you feel within you a greater truth, one that lies beyond these conventional boundaries. Your health, however, begins to betray you. You have always known that your body is fragile, that the life you live, one of intense intellectual labor, of solitude, of introspection, is not one that is kind to the body. The headaches, the bouts of dizziness, the weariness that follows you like a shadow, they have become constant companions. You push through it though, for the work is too important. You must write. You must think. The world must hear the truths that are buried within you, even if it means sacrificing your own well-being. In these moments of physical weakness, when the world around you feels heavy and oppressive, you find solace in the mountains. The vast empty expanse of nature calls to you, and you retreat to it when the weight of the city becomes too much. There, in the silence of the alpine peaks, you begin to understand something deeper about the nature of existence. You are but a small part of the great cycle of life and death, a fleeting moment in the grand expanse of time. Yet, in this smallness you begin to find a kind of peace. The mountains, with their unyielding presence, offer you a silent reminder that nothing lasts forever, not even the questions you ask. You climb higher into the mountains, away from the noise of the city, away from the pressures of intellectual life. The air is thin, and each step you take feels like a struggle. But there is something purifying about the experience. The world becomes simpler here. The only sound is the crunch of snow beneath your boots, the wind rustling through the trees, the distant cry of an eagle. You stand at the summit, and for the first time in a long while you feel a sense of clarity, a sense of knowing that transcends thought. In this solitude you are forced to confront the deepest questions of existence. What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of suffering? What does it mean to be human? The answers are not easily found, and they may never come. But in this moment you feel as though you are close to something beyond the realm of ordinary experience. It is not the certainty of religious faith that you seek, but the acceptance of the unknown, the willingness to live in a world full of contradictions and uncertainties. When you return to Bonn, the city feels even more stifling than before. The bustle of intellectual life, the noise of the streets, the constant pressure to conform to the expectations of those around you, it all feels foreign, alien. You are no longer the young man who walked these streets with hope and curiosity. You are now a man who understands the weight of his own questions, the burden of knowing that the answers you seek will not come easily. The transition from childhood to adulthood is complete, but the transition from conventional belief to radical thought has only just begun. You feel a growing sense of isolation as you continue your studies. The ideas that once excited you now seem distant, unattainable, because the more you learn, the more you realize how little anyone truly knows. The philosophers, the teachers, the intellectuals who once seemed like giants now appear like fragile figures, struggling to hold on to their own beliefs. You cannot help but wonder if the very act of seeking knowledge is a kind of illusion, a desperate attempt to make sense of a world that refuses to be understood. You are in many ways alone. But it is in this loneliness that you begin to find your true voice. The path you are on will be one of great struggle, but also one of great revelation. You will not walk it with others. You will walk it alone. But in this solitude you will find the clarity you seek. The transition from boy to man, from follower to thinker, is complete. Now the real work begins. Public or private role. The months pass and the quiet rhythms of your solitary existence begin to shift. You are no longer a student, no longer a solitary figure consumed only with the questions that plague you. They have moved beyond the quiet confines of your study and the pages of your journals. Your work is no longer just for you, it is for the world, and the world has begun to notice. The change is subtle at first, a quiet ripple that grows steadily into something more. The first letters arrive, from critics, from scholars, from those who feel the weight of your words. They are not all kind, and some are harsh, but you expect no less. the truth you know is never easily accepted. It shakes the foundations of what people believe to be certain, and so they fight it. The air in the university feels different now, heavier somehow. It is not just the weight of the intellectual labor, but the weight of expectation. You are no longer just a man questioning his place in the world. You are now a public figure, a philosopher, whose name begins to circulate among those who seek new ideas. The world around you begins to change, to push and pull you in ways you never anticipated. There are invitations to speak, debates to engage in, letters of praise and condemnation in equal measure. The quiet life you once lived seems distant, a memory fading into the fog of time. You find yourself standing at the intersection of two worlds, the private world of thought, where you can explore the deepest recesses of your mind without the pressure of judgment, and the public world of society, where you must defend your ideas against those who challenge them. The conflict between these two realms becomes a constant in your life. The solitude that once brought you peace now feels stifling, and the public attention that once seemed like a distant dream now feels like a burden. The external world, with its demands, its expectations, encroaches on the internal world of your thoughts. The weight of this new public role presses on you in ways that are difficult to articulate. You are pulled in two directions, one that longs for the quiet solitude of your study, where your thoughts can flow freely without interruption, and one that demands your presence, your words, your ideas. The attention is intoxicating at times, to know that the work you've poured your heart and soul into is being seen, being read, is validating in a way that you did not expect. But there is a deep emptiness that follows this recognition, a realization that the world is not as simple as you once thought. The public does not understand you, not fully. The more they engage with your work, the more you feel the gap between your ideas and their interpretations. They praise your brilliance, but they miss the point. They do not see the depth of what you are trying to convey. And so you retreat into yourself, back into the quiet of your study, where you are free to think, to reflect, without the clamor of the world demanding your attention. It is in this internal space that you begin to wrestle with your own sense of identity. Who are you now? Are you the man who writes for himself, for the quiet pleasure of understanding the world? Or are you the philosopher whose name is now known, whose work is debated, whose ideas are shaped by the expectations of the intellectual world? You are caught between two worlds, and neither feels like home. You begin to understand the cost of fame, the isolation it brings, the way it forces you to become a public figure when all you ever wanted was to be understood. As the months turn into years, the pressure of this dual existence grows. Your health continues to decline. The headaches, the dizziness, the fatigue, all of it worsens, as though your body is slowly betraying you, unable to keep pace with the intensity of your mind. There are days when the weight of it all feels unbearable. The thoughts you once had with ease now feel elusive, slipping through your fingers like sand. The intellectual battles you once fought with vigor now feel hollow, as though the answers you sought are lost in a fog of confusion. You cannot decide if it is the public attention, the physical toll, or the existential burden of your own thoughts that is breaking you. Perhaps it is all of it. You retreat further into isolation, withdrawing from the public eye, seeking solace in the quiet of your mind. You write, but not for the public. You write for yourself now, for the solace that writing has always provided. The letters, the invitations, the debates, they fade into the background as you turn inward, seeking the truth that has eluded you. You spend more time alone in nature, walking the hills and mountains that have always been your refuge. The cold air is a balm for your weary soul, and the stillness of the natural world offers a kind of peace that the intellectual world cannot provide. Here, away from the clamor of society, you are reminded of why you began this journey in the first place. Not for fame, not for recognition, but for the search for truth. The solitude of nature becomes your sanctuary. The sharp scent of pine, the crispness of the air, the endless sky above, they are reminders of the world beyond human concerns. Here you feel the weight of your own thoughts lift, and for a brief moment you understand that it is not the world's understanding you seek, but your own. In the quiet of the mountains, you rediscover the purity of thought, untainted by the expectations of others. Your public role, once a source of pride and validation, now feels like a cage. You have become a prisoner of your own ideas, and the more the world praises you, the more you feel alienated from it. The pressure to conform to the expectations of the intellectual world, to live up to the image others have created of you, is suffocating. You long to be free from it, to live as you once did, when your only concern was the purity of thought, the joy of discovery, and the solace of solitude. Yet as the world continues to turn, you find that there is no escaping your public role. The letters still come, the debates still rage, and your work continues to be discussed, dissected, and analyzed. You cannot silence the world, nor can you escape the reality that your ideas have taken root in the minds of others. Your name will forever be linked to your work, to the philosophy that you have created, whether you like it or not. And so you continue to walk the tightrope between public and private, between the world of ideas and the world of people. The weight of this dual existence is heavy, but it is a weight you must bear. The questions that once consumed you about the nature of existence, about truth, about the human condition, have now taken on a different form. They are no longer just intellectual pursuits. They are a part of you, a part of the world you have created, and a part of the legacy you will leave behind. The public and private worlds are now inextricably linked, and the struggle to reconcile them will define the rest of your life. A small joy or sorrow. The weight of your thoughts continues to press against your mind, the relentless search for truth never ceasing, even as the physical burden of your health continues to increase. Your days are no longer marked by the fresh vitality of youth, but by the steady decline of your body, which no longer responds as it once did. The headaches are frequent now, throbbing in the temples, making it difficult to concentrate on anything for long. Your once sharp mind, filled with clarity and insight, is clouded by the fog of physical illness. The very act of thinking, the thing you once loved most, now becomes an exhausting labor, as if your mind is being drained by the weight of your own thoughts. There are times when you wonder if this is the price you must pay for the clarity you seek. This slow, painful decay of your body, as your mind remains fixated on the questions that haunt you. It is a strange irony. The more you learn, the more you understand, the more you become aware of the fragility of your own existence. The questions that once seemed so simple, so full of promise, now feel overwhelming, as though they have no answers, or worse, as though the answers are beyond your grasp. And yet, even in the midst of this suffering, there are moments of light, moments of joy that pierce through the gloom like a ray of sunshine breaking through the clouds. These moments are rare, fleeting, but they are enough to remind you that even in the midst of suffering, life still holds small joys, joys that, though brief, are more precious for their rarity. One such moment comes unexpectedly. It is a quiet afternoon in the mountains, the air sharp with the scent of pine and the earth beneath your feet cool and solid. You have spent the morning alone, walking along the narrow path that winds its way through the woods, your thoughts swirling as they always do. The world around you seems as still as the thoughts in your mind. The rustling of leaves, the distant call of birds, the faint hum of the wind, all of it blends together into a symphony of solitude. The world feels vast, endless, and for a moment you feel as though you are the only one who truly understands its scale. There is a quiet peace here, a peace that only the mountains seem able to provide. And then, as you round a bend in the path, you see her, a woman standing by a small stream, her face turned toward the sun. The light catches her hair, turning it to gold, and for a brief moment, you are struck by the beauty of the sight. She is alone as you are, and yet there is something about her presence that fills the air with a kind of energy. She does not speak, does not move, but there is a kind of quiet understanding between you, a recognition of something shared. It is a fleeting moment, but it lingers with you in ways you cannot explain. You approach slowly, quietly, not wanting to disturb the fragile peace that exists between you. As you draw nearer, she turns toward you, and in that moment you feel as though you are seeing her for the first time, not just as a woman but as something more, a symbol, perhaps, of the life you have always longed for, the life of connection, of understanding. She smiles, and though it is brief, it feels as though the world itself has paused, as though everything that has come before, the isolation, the suffering, the questions, has been forgotten, if only for a moment. You exchange a few words, but they are not the words of deep conversation, not the kind of intellectual discussion that once filled your days. No, these are simple words, words of greeting, of shared recognition, of acknowledgement that you both exist in this vast silent world. It is not much, but it is enough. In this brief exchange, you feel something shift within you. The weight of your thoughts, the heaviness of your intellectual burdens, seem to lighten, if only for a moment. For a brief fleeting moment, you feel a connection to another human being, a connection that transcends ideas, transcends words. And then, as quickly as it came, the moment passes. She turns away as quietly as she arrived, and you are left standing there, alone once more. But the joy that this brief encounter brought you lingers. It is not the kind of joy that can be held onto, the kind that can be grasped tightly and kept close. It is a fleeting joy, one that slips through your fingers the moment you try to capture it. Yet, in its fleetingness, it is all the more beautiful. It reminds you that, even in the midst of your isolation, of your intellectual struggle, there is still beauty in the world, still something to connect to, even if it is only for a moment. This small joy, this fleeting moment of connection, does not solve the larger questions that plague you, nor does it erase the suffering that you endure daily. But it does remind you that there is more to life than the intellectual struggle, more to life than the questions that fill your mind. There is beauty, there is connection, there is joy, and though these things are fleeting, they are enough to sustain you in the darkest moments. The joy of this encounter is small, almost imperceptible in the grand scheme of your life. But it is a reminder that even in the midst of suffering and confusion, there is still something to be grateful for. It is a small joy, but it is a joy nonetheless. It is the kind of joy that you must hold on to, however briefly, because it is these moments, these small moments of connection, of understanding, of beauty, that make life worth living. As you walk back down the path, the memory of her smile lingers in your mind. The world seems quieter now, more peaceful. The questions that once seemed so urgent now feel distant, as though they are no longer the most important thing. There is something more important, something deeper, something that can only be found in moments like these. Moments of connection, of shared understanding, of joy, no matter how fleeting. And so you continue your walk, knowing that the struggles, the questions, and the suffering will return, as they always do. But for now, you carry with you the memory of that small joy, a joy that, though brief, has touched something deep within you, reminding you of the beauty of simply existing. A long journey, literal or emotional. The years continue to pass, and with each one you feel the weight of time growing heavier. Your body is no longer as strong as it once was, and yet your mind remains sharp, pushing you onward in the relentless pursuit of truth. It is as though you are caught in an eternal tug of war between your physical form and your intellectual drive. The body weakens, but the mind refuses to slow down, to be silenced. It is a cruel paradox, one that you must learn to live with, for you know that the mind and body are inextricably linked, and yet they remain at odds with one another. You retreat more and more into solitude, seeking refuge from the world that seems to demand so much of you. The pressures of fame, the demands of the intellectual world, the need to defend your ideas weigh heavily on your soul. But it is in this solitude that you begin to undertake a different kind of journey, a journey inward, a journey of the mind and spirit. The idea of a physical journey, a literal journey through the world, is something that you begin to consider more and more. You begin to long for the open road, for the sense of freedom that travel provides, for the opportunity to experience life in a way that is not confined by the walls of your study or the weight of your reputation. The thought of leaving behind the confines of the university, the expectations of the world, and the constant pressure to perform intellectually fills you with a strange sense of longing. You want to experience the world in a different way, not as a philosopher but as a human being, free from the constraints of thought, free from the constant need to explain, to analyze, to justify. But the journey is not so simple. Your body, fragile and weakened by years of poor health, resists the idea of travel, the idea of a physical journey, of walking long distances, of experiencing the world firsthand, seems like an impossible dream. Your body is not capable of such feats, and yet you yearn for it. You dream of the mountains once more, of the vast open spaces, of the quiet solitude that only nature can provide. You long for the simplicity of being, of experiencing life not through the lens of intellect, but through the raw immediacy of the senses. And so instead of embarking on a literal journey, you take a different kind of trip, an emotional and intellectual journey. You begin to reflect on the journey you have already undertaken, the long path that has brought you to this point in your life. It has not been an easy journey, and it has not been a journey of simple answers. The path you have walked has been filled with pain, confusion, and loss, but it has also been filled with discovery, growth, and enlightenment. The journey inward, the journey of the mind, has been just as long, just as challenging, as any physical journey could have been. It is a journey that has taken you to the edges of human understanding, to the depths of existence itself. You begin to see your life as a series of interconnected steps, each one leading you closer to the truth, to the understanding that you have sought your entire life. Every idea, every philosophy, every moment of intellectual struggle has been a part of this journey. And though the road has been long and difficult, you now understand that it has been necessary. The pain, the isolation, the confusion, all of it has led you to this moment, to this understanding. But even as you reflect on the journey you have made, you cannot help but feel a sense of melancholy. The journey is not over, of course. It never truly ends. But you are aware that you are no longer the same person who began this path so many years ago. The man who once walked the streets of Bonn, eager to change the world with his ideas, is not the same man who now sits in quiet contemplation, his body frail, his health failing, his mind searching for meaning in the quiet spaces of his study. You have changed, and the world around you has changed. The journey, it seems, is not just one of discovery but also one of acceptance. You must accept that you cannot travel forever, that you cannot always push forward in the way that you once did. The body, frail as it is, must be allowed to rest, and the mind, though it is capable of great things, must also acknowledge the limitations of time. It is not an easy realization to come to, but it is one that you must face if you are to continue on this journey of self-discovery. You begin to see that the true journey, the one that truly matters, is not the physical journey through the world but the journey of the soul. It is the journey that takes place within, the one that forces you to confront your own fears, your own limitations, your own mortality. It is the journey that asks you to accept the mystery of life, to embrace the uncertainty, to live fully in the present moment. As the days pass, you find solace in these quiet reflections. The world outside may continue to spin, but here in this space, you are at peace. You are content with the knowledge that you have traveled far, both physically and emotionally, and that the journey will continue, even as you slow down. The long journey, literal or emotional, is not one that can be measured in distance or time, but in the depth of the experience, and you are learning more than ever that the journey itself is what truly matters. Your body may be frail, but your spirit is strong, and it is this strength that will carry you forward even as the world around you changes. The journey will continue, though it may no longer be a physical one. It will continue in the thoughts you ponder, in the reflections you have, in the wisdom you gain. The road is long and the path is uncertain, but it is the path you have chosen, and it is the one that will lead you to the deepest truths of existence. A shift in seasons, body or belief. The seasons are shifting once more, and with them you feel a change within yourself. The crispness of the autumn air has begun to bite, and the trees that once flourished with the vibrancy of summer now stand bare, their skeletal branches reaching toward a muted sky. The first frost of winter coats the ground, and the silence that follows in its wake is both heavy and peaceful. There is something about the stillness of this season that seems to mirror your own inner state. The world around you feels quieter, more reflective, and for the first time in a long while, you feel the weight of time pressing down on you. Your body, once resilient, is now a constant reminder of its frailty. The ailments that have plagued you for years have only worsened. The once vibrant energy that drove you to challenge the very fabric of human understanding has given way to an exhaustion that lingers, refusing to dissipate. You feel your bones ache more acutely now, the weariness that comes with age and illness creeping into every part of your being. There are days when even the simplest tasks, walking, writing, thinking, become arduous, and you wonder how much longer you can continue on this path, a path that requires the full capacity of both mind and body. But it is not just your body that is changing. You can feel your beliefs shifting too. The certainty you once had, the fervor with which you questioned the world and its institutions, is being replaced with something more introspective, something quieter and perhaps more profound. You have spent your life fighting against the constraints of society, of religion, of tradition, but now, in the stillness of your solitude, you begin to realize that the greatest battle you have fought has been within yourself. You have always known that life is filled with contradictions, but now, as your health deteriorates and your thoughts become increasingly reflective, these contradictions seem more pronounced. You find yourself questioning the very beliefs that have shaped your existence. Is there meaning to life, or is it a grand illusion? What is the nature of suffering, and why must it be so pervasive? The answers that once seemed so clear are now clouded, and you realize that the certainty you sought in philosophy, in logic and in intellectual discovery, was perhaps never meant to be found. Perhaps the search itself, the very act of questioning, is the answer, not the resolution. You begin to see that belief is not a fixed thing. It shifts with the seasons of life, with the changing rhythms of the body and mind. The beliefs you held in your youth, the ones that gave you purpose, that spurred you on to challenge the world, are not the same as the ones you hold now. You have come to understand that belief is not about finding definitive answers, but about learning to live with the questions, to exist within the uncertainty, and to embrace the contradictions that life offers. The cold that has settled in the air outside seems to penetrate deeper into your bones, but it also offers a strange comfort. It is as though this season, this inevitable march toward winter, is preparing you for something more. The change is not just physical, it is emotional, intellectual, and even spiritual. You have spent so much of your life searching for clarity, for truth, and yet now you understand that perhaps there is no clarity to be found, at least not in the way you once imagined. Life is not a series of neatly packaged answers, it is a complex, shifting landscape full of mystery and contradiction. As you walk through the quiet streets of the university, you reflect on the journey you have taken. You have fought battles, both intellectual and emotional, to arrive at this place. The man who once believed that the answers to life's questions were within reach, if only one could push hard enough, now understands that the true path is one of acceptance. Acceptance of the mystery, of the unknown, of the things that cannot be fully understood. There is a peace in this acceptance, a peace that you have sought for so long, though you did not realize it until now. The winter is now settling in, and you find yourself retreating into your study more often, away from the bustling intellectual world that once gave you so much purpose. There, in the stillness of your room, surrounded by books and papers, you begin to confront the most difficult question of all: what is the meaning of your life, now that you are no longer the vibrant force of intellectual energy you once were? Your health continues to decline, and you know that the end is nearer than it ever was before. And yet, as the end draws closer, you feel less fear than you once did. Instead, you feel a quiet acceptance, a realization that death is not the enemy, but a natural part of the cycle of existence. This shift in belief, this change in understanding, is not something that can be easily articulated, nor is it something that can be fully grasped by the intellectual mind. It is a realization that goes beyond the bounds of logic and reason, that lies within the quiet, still spaces between thoughts. you begin to see that the journey you have been on, the journey of intellectual discovery, of questioning, of rebellion, has led you here, to this moment of reflection, to this quiet acceptance of the mystery of existence. And while the answers may never come, the search itself has given you something invaluable, the ability to live with the questions. As the days grow shorter and the cold grows deeper, you feel a strange peace settle over you. It is the peace of someone who has come to terms with their own limitations, with the limitations of the world. You no longer need to fight for answers, for meaning. You have come to understand that life is not about finding the answers, but about learning to live in the space between questions. In the silence of winter, you feel that you have finally found the clarity that has eluded you for so long, not in the certainty of belief, but in the acceptance of uncertainty. The seasons continue to shift, as they always do. The world will continue to turn, and life will continue to unfold in ways that are both beautiful and tragic. But for now, in this quiet moment, you are at peace. The body is frail, but the mind, though worn, is clear. And in this clarity, you find a deep sense of calm. The shift in seasons, both physical and intellectual, has brought you to a place of acceptance. You have learned that life, with all its contradictions, is something to be embraced, not solved. Loneliness, legacy, or change. The quiet of the winter is all-encompassing now. The days are short, and the nights long and heavy. There are moments, in the stillness of the evening, when you find yourself reflecting on the life you have lived. Not with regret, but with a deep sense of contemplation. Your body is worn, your health more fragile than it has ever been. The world around you continues to march on, but you remain a figure largely removed from the bustle of daily life. The public debates, the letters, the intellectual exchanges, they all seem distant now. There are days when you do not leave the house, when the only sounds are the wind outside, the crackling of the fire in your hearth, and the rustle of the pages you turn in your solitude. The world is vast, but it feels smaller now, the edges of your existence drawing in tighter, as though you are a man who has retreated from the world to take stock of the life he has lived. In these quiet moments you begin to confront the idea of legacy. What will remain of you once your time here is done? The intellectual world to which you devoted your life will continue, but you wonder if the path you've carved will endure. Will your ideas stand the test of time, or will they be swallowed by the vast ocean of thought, lost to the next generation of thinkers? You have always known that truth does not bend to the whims of fame, that the worth of an idea is not determined by how many follow it, but by its intrinsic value. Yet as you feel the weight of your own mortality press closer, you cannot help but wonder if anyone will remember you, truly remember you, or if your work will be dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood. This realization brings with it a deep sense of loneliness. You have spent much of your life in solitude, both by choice and by necessity. But now, as you face the twilight years of your existence, the loneliness feels different. It is not just the absence of people around you, though that is certainly a part of it. No, the loneliness you feel now is deeper, more existential. It is the loneliness that comes from knowing that the work you have done, the truths you have uncovered, will likely never be fully understood by those who follow. Your philosophy has always been a radical one, challenging the very core of human thought, questioning the foundations of morality, religion, and culture. The world you live in is not ready for the truth you have sought, and yet you feel that the world will move on without ever understanding the depth of your work. You have written, you have debated, you have lived your life in pursuit of ideas that transcended the ordinary. But in the quiet of these late hours you wonder if it has all been worth it. Perhaps, you think, the world does not need your ideas. Perhaps, in the end, the answers you have sought were never meant to be found. Perhaps, the struggle, the journey itself was the only true reward, that in the pursuit of truth, even if it leads to no resolution, there is meaning. Yet, as you contemplate these questions, there is a part of you that still longs for connection, for understanding, for the validation that you were right, that your efforts were not in vain. Your health continues to decline and you find that your body can no longer keep up with the demands of your mind. The days when you could walk freely through the streets, when you could lecture for hours, when you could think with clarity and purpose, those days are fading. Your body, once strong, is now a fragile vessel, and it is difficult to reconcile the idea that the mind, which once seemed so limitless, is now tied to the limitations of the flesh. The very thing that gave you purpose, the search for truth, is now overshadowed by the reality of your own mortality. And so you retreat further into the quiet of your mind, into the sanctuary of your study, where your ideas are still alive, still burning brightly, even as the world outside becomes colder, darker. And yet, in this isolation, a strange thing happens. You begin to find peace with the idea of your legacy, with the realization that perhaps you will never see the full impact of your work in your lifetime. The world may never fully understand you, may never embrace the radical shift in thought you have worked so tirelessly to achieve. But that is not the point. The point you realize is that you have lived authentically, that you have pursued truth to its furthest edges, even if it meant standing alone. In the end, it is not the number of followers or the recognition that matters, but the courage to live your life as you saw fit, to embrace the challenges and contradictions that the pursuit of truth entails. Your legacy, then, is not one that can be measured in the typical ways. It is not defined by the number of followers you have or the influence you wield. Instead, it is defined by the quiet, unspoken truths that will continue to ripple through the minds of those who encounter your work, even if they do not fully understand it. You have planted seeds, and though you may never see them grow, you know that they will in time take root. You come to understand that this loneliness, this distance from the world, is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. It is a necessary part of the journey, a part of the price that must be paid for living a life devoted to truth. Your work may never reach the vast audience you once hoped for, but it will endure, not in the form of widespread recognition, but in the quiet ways it continues to influence thought, to challenge assumptions, to provoke deep reflection. It will endure in the minds of those who take the time to grapple with your ideas, to understand them, even if they never fully agree with them. And as the days continue to pass, you find that this understanding brings a deep sense of peace. The loneliness that once seemed so oppressive now feels like a companion, a reminder of the path you have chosen, a path that only a few have had the courage to walk. You are in a way free from the need for validation, free from the need for recognition. You have lived authentically, and that is enough. The world may not understand you, but it does not matter. What matters is that you have been true to yourself, and that in the end is the greatest legacy of all. Aging, reflection, and gentle death. The days grow shorter now, as they always do when the body's strength begins to fade. The cold, biting winds of winter press against the stone walls of your study, but they are no longer unwelcome. You welcome the chill, for it matches the growing sense of quiet that has settled deep within you. The feverish intellectual energy that once burned brightly, that drove you to write and think with an urgency that would not be stilled, has cooled into something quieter now, more contemplative. Your thoughts are not as sharp as they once were, and the physical exhaustion weighs heavily on your spirit. But there is a peace in this slowing down, a peace that has eluded you for most of your life. You find yourself spending more time alone, with nothing but your books and your own thoughts for company. The letters from admirers, the invitations to lecture, they have all stopped coming. The world, it seems, has forgotten you, as though your ideas no longer hold the power they once did. You are not surprised by this, for you have long understood that fame is fleeting, and the recognition of your work, if it ever came, would be a passing thing. What matters, you realize now, is not how the world perceives you, but how you have lived, how you have pursued truth with an unwavering dedication, even when it led you down lonely paths. The weight of your body is becoming too much to bear. The once bright spark of energy that fueled your intellectual work now feels dimmed, as though the flame is burning lower and lower. Your limbs are stiff, your movements slow, and there are days when the pain in your head makes it difficult to concentrate. to think clearly. You have known for some time that your body cannot hold on much longer. The years of isolation, the strain of intellectual labor, the toll that chronic illness has taken on your body, all of these have caught up with you. And yet there is no fear in this realization, no panic. There is only the quiet acceptance that comes when you have lived a life fully, when you have embraced the questions, the struggles, and the uncertainties. There are moments when you find yourself looking out the window of your study, watching the snow fall gently to the ground, and you think about the passage of time. The seasons have changed so many times, and with each one you have grown older, wiser, but also more aware of the fragility of life. Time, you realize, is not something to be fought against, but something to be embraced. The passing of time is inevitable as the death that awaits you. But there is no bitterness in this knowledge. You have lived the way you chose, and you are at peace with that. The work you have done will live on in the minds of those who will come after you, even if it is not fully understood in your lifetime. You think back to the beginning of your journey, to the young man who first set foot in the world of philosophy, eager to challenge the foundations of existence. You think of the fire that burned within you, the relentless pursuit of truth that drove you to ask questions no one else was asking. In those early years you were certain that the answers were within reach, that the struggle for truth would lead to clarity. But now, looking back, you understand that the struggle itself was the point. The journey, not the destination, is what matters. You think back to destination is what matters. You have come to understand that the answers are not as important as the questions, that the act of questioning, of seeking, is the very essence of what it means to be alive. As the days grow colder and your body weaker, you spend more time reflecting on the relationships you have had throughout your life. You think of the people you have known, the friends, the lovers, the fellow thinkers who have come and gone. There is loneliness in this reflection, for many of those relationships are long since faded, and you realize that you have lived much of your life in isolation. But this loneliness is not the same as the isolation of your earlier years. It is a gentler kind of loneliness, one that comes with the acceptance of your own mortality. You know that you are nearing the end of your journey, and while there may be regrets, there is no fear. Fear, you realize, is for those who have not lived authentically, for those who have not embraced the questions, for those who have never dared to confront the truth of their own existence. You have lived as you saw fit. And now, as the end draws near, you find yourself at peace with the life you have led. There is no need for grand gestures, no need for a dramatic conclusion. The end will come quietly, as it always does. The world will continue to turn, and life will continue in its cycles, but you will have finished your part in it. The ideas you have shared will continue to live on, passed on to those who will come after you, even if they are misunderstood or ignored for a time. The truth you sought will remain, not because it was accepted by the world, but because it was lived and questioned with sincerity. As you lie in bed, the darkness of night settling around you, you feel a sense of calm. The pain in your body is always there now, but it no longer bothers you. It is simply a part of who you are. A reminder that the body, like everything else, is temporary. The mind, however, continues to function, continues to reflect, continues to question. You feel the weight of your thoughts as they drift in and out of consciousness, and for the first time in many years you feel a sense of completion. The work you set out to do has been done, and now it is time to rest. The moment of death, you realize, is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It is the final chapter in the journey of life, and it comes as naturally as the seasons change, as the body ages, as the day turns to night. There is no grand finale, no climactic end. There is only the quiet fading away, the gentle dissolution of the self into the larger fabric of existence. And so, with this understanding, you close your eyes for the last time. The world continues, the seasons shift once more, but your part in it is over. Your ideas will live on, though you may never see how they are received. Your life, though it may fade from the world's memory, has left its mark. You have lived authentically, and in this final moment, there is peace.